Welcome back to the Rural Banker. I'm Andrew Hoover, joined by Dr. Ernie Goss. Dr. Goss, good to have you.
Good to be with you, Andrew, here from Creighton University in beautiful downtown Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, the April numbers are in. Let's get into it.
Okay.
More than half of bankers are now saying their local economy is in a recession. Dr. Goss, what's changed?
Well, obviously, what's changed is the uptick in the cost of to farmers out there. And this is a survey of bank CEOs in rural areas of 10 states, of course. And we've been doing this is the 20th anniversary. Didn't tell you that, Andrew, but 20 years now we've been doing the monthly survey, and the numbers are not good, well below growth neutral for the third straight month. And what's going on, of course, is associated with the Iran conflict, in which a cost of fertilizer, for example, diesel fuel, and other costs are rising. At the same time, now prices are keeping up, but there are real reasons there for that. In other words, it's not because the farmer has a lot of commodity in hand. It's because of course, there's some supply chain disruptions, which is also pushing up prices. But corn, soybean, and wheat, I'm primarily talking about. Of course, on the livestock side, we're talking about primarily pork and beef.
The trouble seems to be showing up on the asset side as well. Farmland was holding at 50.2 last month, but now it's below neutral. What's driving that shift?
Just pessimism, in other words, and also, of course, the farmer getting loans out there with the balance sheets not as good as they were. In other words, cash flows are not doing well for the rancher, for the farmer out there right now. So some real, I won't call it tough times, but tougher times. And as you said, 54, I'll say the number, 54.2% said we're in a recession. Now, on top of that, you got 8.3%. And for those who are mathematically inclined or arithmetically inclined, that of course is over 62% are in a recession or going into a recession. So that's just a lot of concern out there. And I'd say also, Andrew, what we're seeing is just liquidity. Farmers don't have the liquidity nor the borrowing power to push up prices. But again, in the long run, I expect that's farmland prices, to maintain their levels right at growth neutral or above growth neutral. I expect farmland prices to expand this year, even though cash flow and net income are not going to be expanding this year. That's 2025, 26. Sorry about that.
Speaking of tougher times, 62.5% say that the $12 billion farm bridge program is not having much impact. Why is that money not moving the needle?
It was, we're talking about $12 billion which the Trump administration provided farm grain, principally grain. And then you subtract off 1 billion for specialty crops. So you're talking about $11 billion. That's not enough to move the needle when you're talking about what's going on with corn producers, what's going on with soybean and wheat producers. Just not enough there, Andrew, and that's what we're talking about. It's just not enough to make up for the lack of income or cash flow for those commodity producers, those farm grain producers. On the flip side, the livestock producers are doing pretty darn well. Now, why is that? We've got income growing still at the U.S. level. We've got consumers are moving toward what I'd call protein, and that's of course beef, and that of course is pork, and we're seeing a move in that direction. So as long as that holds up, ranchers are going to be doing well. But then when you throw in crops, not so well when you put it all together, and we'll wait and see. But they've lobbied. There's some lobbying going on right now. The ICBA, Independent Community Bankers Association, lobbying for more support. But where are you going to get it? Where are you going to get the money from, Andrew? We're now approaching $40 trillion of debt at the U.S. level. Not much room there to provide support to anybody.
Given all that complexity, why aren't bankers pushing for a rate cut?
There's too much inflationary pressures. We're looking at the CPI and PCE, personal consumption expenditures, and consumer price index. Both, if you analyze the last month or so, you're talking about well above 3%. Now, that's the headline number. And if you subtract out fuels and food, it's still too high, 2.7% probably. And if this conflict with Iran goes on much longer, Andrew, we're talking about that feeding. It's already feeding over, spilling over into food production, spilling over, and obviously the farm economy and the broader economy. We're talking about farmers that depend heavily on diesel fuel now, whether that's in their own equipment or being used or deliveries to them, to the farmers, and that's certainly an issue.
Diesel is definitely still up. What else are you hearing on the ground right now?
Ag equipment, not good. Their farmers they may be buying, but not the expensive equipment. And they're buying used equipment. They're repairing their equipment. We're talking about ag equipment sales down for the 32nd straight month. 32nd straight month, Andrew. Of course, that's not good. And that's that the farmers just holding back on those purchases. Of course, the bankers are pulling back on their willingness to finance some of those purchases. So that spills over into the broader economy. When you're talking about John Deere, for example, you're talking about metal. We're talking about tariffs on steel and aluminum coming into the U.S., which goes to John Deere to produce the products. So all in all, this is a mix I won't call it flammable. It's certainly not good. We're talking about some real issues in ag equipment going forward. And we need to see some relief there. What will help with the relief, of course, is higher income for the farmer and the rancher. I'm talking about corn, Andrew, and there's a lot of movement toward planting soybean away from corn. And of course, that's good, healthy for the corn prices, but not for the farmer there. Why is that happening? A lot of it's due to takes a lot more fertilizer to grow corn than it does a soybean. Now, I cannot comment on that. I'm not a farmer, even close to being a farmer, but that's what my bankers tell me. And I talk to them a lot and I talk to farmers a lot. You can't live in Omaha and not have some farmer friends. If you don't have any farmer friends, you're just unfriendly person. That's all. And I may be unfriendly, but I'm making sure I stay friends with my farmer friends because they give me a lot of good information and they're good friends too.
We certainly don't coast in Omaha. Dr. Goss, appreciate the insight as always. We'll see you next month.
Nice to be with you. Thanks for having me on, Andrew. And until we meet again next month, may your economic cup runneth over to you and all of our visitors.